just sing the Mangler to different, like, top 40 hits.
Give us one.
Shit.
And now I can't think of any top 40 songs.
Yeah, I just completely blanked.
The first thing that popped into my head was Umbrella by Rihanna from, like, almost 2 decades ago or some shit.
I don't know how you're gonna work Mangler into that.
Mangler, that doesn't work.
Under my Mangler, under my... I don't know. That doesn't work. I thought of that Ariana Grande song, but I can't make Mangler work with that either.
Which one?
Well, technically it works the one where she's like my hair, I bought it. Like, I don't know. That actually sounds more like a Beyonce song, but you guys know.
I know what song you're talking about. I'm surprised you know that song.
That's like, some of them I think are a little unavoidable, because like anytime you go to a store anywhere, there it is.
I just don't think that one was like... I mean, I guess I don't know what the radio gets played in the radio. I just don't remember that one being like a hit. Like, like some of the other ones, but fuck it, whatever. Fuck a tagline. Let's all kill Donald Trump. Welcome to I Hope You Suffer.
Goodness.
We're shut down after this. The FBI is going to have come for us.
Fuck the FBI.
They can't come for us. They're quarantined.
I'm gonna cough right in their fucking stupid faces.
Holy crap.
It's a very aggressive week, and I hope you suffer.
Oh, I mean, if anybody that follows this podcast follows me on Twitter, they know I'm not fucking putting up with this shit right now.
We're on day 2 of quarantine.
I'm not even fucking quarantined.
They're running high.
Kid and I are still going to fucking stupid jobs.
Yeah, that's real fucking dumb. I'm supposed to do my physical inventory, like, in a week and a half. Like, they just still expect me to do that. Like, oh yeah, man. Most stressful time of year at work, and I'm dealing with a global fucking pandemic, too. It's tight. It's great.
I mean, people need TVs right now, and, I don't know, Miss Doubtfire Blu-rays?
CDs from 12 years ago that are still $20 for some reason.
The, like, 8 CDs that Best Buy still carries.
Gonna raid our, like, $5 dump bin.
Yeah. Because that's all anybody can afford right now. I don't know. This is I Hope You Suffer. It's fucking... We watched a movie. Sort of.
It's gonna be a weird one this week, in case you couldn't tell.
I took 0 notes because I could not get any fucking, like, time for my phone to not be exploding. So I sort of watched The Mangler from 1995.
That's a pretty solid excuse for this past week, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First key plot word on IMDb is antacid.
Which we all need a lot of right now, to be honest.
Why is the tagline "Escape is not an option"?
I
mean, the machine does chase somebody at the end of the movie, so it kind of works.
So here it is. Escape is not an option. There is a fate worse than death. The ultimate tale of terror is about to begin. That's pretty vague. From the 3 Masters of Horror, the ultimate tale of terror is about to begin.
These are all so generic. You can't even work in, like, a laundry pun?
I think what this is telling us is that nobody watched this movie except for us.
This is like a beloved movie, isn't it?
Is it? I have never heard anyone talk
think
about
so.
it before.
I just
I'd never hear anyone
assumed
mention it.
based on, like, the 3 kind of big stars, like, surrounding it, that people, I don't know.
In my opinion, it should be a beloved film because it has a sentient laundry mangle chasing someone through the sewers. What do I know?
Fuck. It, only made $933,000 opening weekend in the U.S. Oh well, I guess it grossed.
Well,
I didn't think you were gonna say 1,000.
It grossed almost $2 million worldwide. This movie probably made its money back.
I don't know. It kind of seems like, I mean, they have some like pretty prolific people in it. I feel like.
Yeah, but in what time? When was this? I guess 95. For some reason, I thought it was 85. I was like, Robert Englund wasn't like. Robert Englund is like a well-known person, but I doubt he's not pulling, you know, Will Smith kind of fucking numbers for his pay. Like,
I wish he was.
he should be. Fucking Robert Englund.
Zombie.
I was gonna say Robert Englund in a reboot of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
I mean, he does really go above and beyond in this movie.
True.
I also just realized that I wrote the main character's name down wrong the entire time, so this will be great.
I like that one of the actors is just credited as Picture Man Mortician.
Okay. Yeah, and then his name is JJJ Pictureman. And I thought, so this character is like a guy who comes to the crime scenes and like take pictures, and I thought like his name legit is Pictureman, and I was like, for real? Like, are you kidding me? Because like the main character calls him Pictureman, and I thought he was just like calling him that because like that's what he does, but that's also his name, and I was like, couldn't hazard just a name, like a real name for this guy.
This movie fucking rules.
And then when he's like the mortician, it's like so, because like when you see him as Picture Man, like you can tell that they've put like prosthetics on his face to make him look old, but like when he's the mortician, he doesn't look anything like that, and he's like still equally as creepy. So
I don't know if I've seen anything creepier in a movie than Robert Englund's makeup in this fucking movie.
oh my god,
So weird.
I have to say, like, did we already say, like, obviously it stars Robert Englund and also Ted Levine? Or does it look like?
Is Ted Levine the guy that was like the detective or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah, Buffalo Bill.
Oh my
That's
god.
right. The entire time.
Not,
Well, go ahead, Katie.
I just could not get past it, and every time he talked, I just was like, I'm not gonna say it, but everyone knows where I'm going with it. And I just could not take it seriously because I was just like, oh my god.
The entire time I was watching it, I was like, this guy looks real familiar, but I was just like, again, like normally, even with like this month, I've been like the other episodes we did, even though Katie had been kind of like leading them, I had been doing the like, you know, this movie stars like whatever. Like I didn't do any of that. I just didn't get time, and the entire time I was like, this dude looks like extremely familiar, and I couldn't place like what from. But yeah, Buffalo Bill.
I think I spent the whole movie trying to talk like him.
Can you spend the podcast talking like that?
I can try.
I
It's not
just
gonna
like
go. I didn't say I did a good job.
He rules. Like he's the like. I mean, I guess minus Robert Englund just being fucking weird in this movie, and like that when he dances and shit. Like Ted Levine is just like the saving grace of this movie.
he is I just, oh god, I just couldn't. I just couldn't get past it, and I was like,
You just wanted to see him tuck.
I just needed to see him dance. Is it copyright if we insert that scene from Silence of the Lambs?
I insert a bunch of shit in these podcasts that I probably shouldn't, so.
Okay, insert it. But
So
I
basically,
do think
you
that,
just want to hear Goodbye Horses.
Nathan, if you sing Goodbye Horses, then I'll recite the lines.
I'm just gonna fucking put like the Jay and Silent Bob, like the Clerks 2 version in here instead.
Fuck me. Right, fuck me.
Goodbye horses.
Me so
so yeah, because his voice has just like such a distinct tone to it that like When he first comes out of the house, I didn't actually know it was him yet because I didn't really like see his face or whatever. But as soon as he talked, I was just like, my head just like snapped up, and I was like,
It's just interesting though because in like Silence of the Lambs, it's that whole like monotone kind of low talking, and he is just explosive in this movie.
oh, he is.
It
He is like
rules.
he is doing work. That's what I'm saying.
I will say so. Had you guys both seen this before, or was this
No.
Yes.
So this is the first time watch for you, Katie?
Yes.
Okay, it was the first time watch for me too. So then let's do this real quick. Kit, what are your thoughts on this movie? It's just like in general.
It is ridiculous, way too long, and kind of forgettable, which is sad because it's so many of my favorite things, like paranormal haunting of an inanimate object, an unsuspecting inanimate object, Robert Englund being fucking wild, people getting flattened.
Folded in
But yeah,
half.
it did not need to be almost 2 hours long.
Yes.
If it was like 80 minutes, I think I would watch it far more frequently than I do.
Especially with this plot, this should have been like an hour and 25 minutes tops.
Yes. Even that feels like a stretch, you know?
That's including credits.
Yeah.
What about you, Katie?
I pretty much agree with everything Kit said. It was just way too long. The plot to me seemed pretty standard, like Stephen King. Like once we get to like what's actually going on behind the scenes. And I like how crazy it is because it's like a laundry machine that's like possessed by a demon, which like what? How do you pick like where did this story come from? But and I thought some of the performances were good, but yeah, way too long. There was a lot of stuff. There was a lot of talking between like the main character and his brother-in-law that like did not need to happen. There just is so much talking in this movie that's just like I didn't not like it, but I also sort of have no feelings towards it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I
Less talking, more mangling.
I have
Right?
I bought this on VHS at the thrift store a while ago, and I just never got around to watching it. I'm kind of interested to give it a watch at a point where I can like actually sit and focus on it, because like I can't tell you anything anybody in this movie said except for the word dogfuck. Like, but I will say that like the sets and everything look really good. Like I like the way the movie looked.
Yeah.
It has like, it reminded me a lot of Eaten Alive, but like colorful. If that makes sense. I know Kit's seen Eaten Alive, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know how Toby Hooper does that, like, with this and Eaten Alive, it's like all of the outdoor stuff is blatantly shot like in a studio, like it's like they made the sets. So like,
Yeah.
like Ted Levine and like his brother-in-law's kind of like yard and house with all those like fucking weird trees and shit. Like it just looks interesting.
Yeah.
Like I did really enjoy that. Robert Englund is underutilized in this.
It has a touch of like Tim Burton
Yes.
Yeah,
to
a
it,
little,
at least on the interior.
Like if Tim,
like the Mangle itself, and
Tim Burton,
even Robert Englund and his outfits.
I think if Tim,
I literally go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think if like Tim Burton was able to like rein himself in, it would like this is what one of his movies would look like.
Yeah.
Literally wrote when Robert Englund's character shows up, I wrote looking like a Batman villain because like and then he's like, so like the whole like factory is like really muted gray, and then you just go up the stairs and he's got this like huge elaborate like Victorian office and stuff, and so yeah, it really does have like that kind of vibe to it. And then you go outside and it's like Maine, like typical Maine, so it's like There's crazy.
Just, like Toby Hooper, I'm giving Toby Hooper credit when it could very well have been whoever like shot the movie for him, but like there's just things where it's like he'll use like purple or green lighting in like certain scenes, or like, you know, like backlit the Mangle fucking machine with like red. Like it just looks good.
Yeah, and that's like another part where you get, because like anytime you go to any other parts of the movie, like Robert Englund's house is like one of the, I could not remember his name, Gartley. When you go to Gartley's house, it's like all like huge Victorian house, but it's all super muted. You have this like weird hospital that is the weirdest hospital I've ever seen in my life, but it's also super muted. And then you get the police station with the morgue that also, like, straight up, all of these things look like just like muted Tim Burton sets. What? So it's like the only time you get any color or like electricity and all that stuff is like all around the machine.
Yeah, it's like the machine and then fucking
and the blood, obviously.
Well, I was gonna say the when there's like the scene, I think when you're first introduced to the dude's brother-in-law or whatever. Is it brother-in-law, like whatever he is.
Yeah.
That like they're just kind of like outside. They're standing on that weird like dock or whatever, and everything's like backlit with like a purple and green and kind of like whatever colors. Like I like that a lot.
This my other complaint about this movie is that it took a pretty long time for you to figure out like how characters connect to each other, because like the first couple times Mark shows up, I'm just like, who is this guy living in his backyard in like a fairy forest? Like, what is going on here? Because he just like tags along with him to his like police call or whatever. Then you find out, but in the beginning it's like really confusing because you're like, what is even happening here?
I still, like I said, like I would just kind of periodically catch parts of the movie, so I still have no fucking idea what like how anybody related to anybody. I would just like look up and it would just be like a fucking scene where like they're carrying the lady's body out in like a fucking laundry hamper
in a basket.
Like,
yeah. Okay.
I was too distracted by how ridiculous the Mangle itself was.
It's pretty fucking huge. Awesome design.
Okay, so any other thoughts?
No, I mean this is like I think this is a movie. I'll definitely rewatch it since I own it. I don't know if I would like seek it out on like streaming stuff just because there's so many other options. But if I'm just like laying in bed and I'm like, I'm gonna watch a VHS, I'd definitely like pop this in again. Like it's not bad. It's just it's like like a 2.5 out of 5 for me if I was like rating it.
It's a good like background noise one where you just want something kind of there and you can pop up and see someone getting laundry mangled and it's like, oh cool, and then tune back out for a while.
I think this movie would be just endlessly better if they cut like at least 30 minutes out of it.
Or Ted Levine had his wiener tucked in the whole time.
I mean, you don't know that he doesn't.
It's
That's
true.
a fair point.
One of the trivias was basically like, did you know that the unrated version is 30 seconds longer? And I'm like, did it need to be? Like,
unless that 30 seconds was like Ted Levine's dick, then who cares?
It's literally all like things that they cut out about deaths. So like they cut out a close-up of something.
They probably just had to cut out like gore for like rating.
And you know what? That's fine. Because yeah.
So cut out the most interesting parts of the movie.
Yeah. So yeah, we said Robert Englund, Ted Levine. The only most of the people on the cast do not have even like headshots. So
Damn.
I'm not really sure.
Well,
like there are a few people, but they play really small parts.
Yeah, like you come across that a lot when like especially in kind of lower budget horror movies where you just like all of the background people are like it'll be like the only time they've ever been in a movie is that movie.
Yeah, so Jeremy Crutchley, who plays Picture Man / Mortician, I'm just going to mention him because he's also in American Gods, which is like a pretty new adaptation. But
this
other than that,
was shot in South Africa. Why?
It's the only place with a large mangle.
That seems so cost prohibitive for this fucking movie.
So yeah, so it was shot in London, LA and South Africa. So I'm wondering if like his house is like, yeah, why? That's pretty. What?
Hadley Watson is the manufacturer of the Mangler. It's displayed right on the front. Each of these words have 6 letters in them. There's a big 6 right underneath those words. That's 3 sixes. 666 is the sign of the beast.
666.
God damn it.
Of the beast. They got us.
I don't ever want to hear you sing Iron Maiden again.
You gotta sing it like Ted Levine would.
You gotta.
666. The number of the beast. Part of the company's name that made the folding machine, Hadley Watson, may be a reference to the sadistic captain of the guards in the Shawshank Redemption. Byron Hadley?
I feel like I've not seen Shawshank Redemption, but I feel like the name Hadley comes up a lot.
What kind of Stephen King fan are you? You haven't seen Shawshank Redemption?
Shake my head.
Are you guys Shawshank Redemption stans?
I mean, it's a good movie.
It's been a long time since I've seen it.
I don't think it's a movie I've ever felt the need to rewatch, but it's worth watching at least the one time.
Yeah, I agree with
Just for the fucking Morgan Freeman having to delivering the line that's like whatever. He's like, whatever the dude's name had to crawl through a mile of shit. Like fucking whatever it is.
Yeah, I think I've seen enough like parodies of it and stuff that like I do know what happens in the movie. It just does not.
It's just interesting.
Very interesting.
It's interesting to see like a Stephen King movie that isn't a horror movie, you know, like that or like Stand By Me or whatever. It's always just interesting to see those like takes that the stories he wrote that aren't horror movies. Also,
yeah, I like his
go ahead.
For lack of a better term, slice of life sort of. He does a lot of those in his like little short story things, which a lot of times I really like those.
VT dubs. I told Katie about it. Kit, we can watch the. There's a Hindu adaptation of Misery on YouTube.
Oh, I did not think you were gonna say Misery. Well, I'm in.
I'm trying to figure out how I can fucking watch the It adaptation, but
yeah,
because it's 52 episodes.
Jesus.
I posted a link to a story that somebody wrote about it on Twitter today. The It adaptation, the guy who made it essentially wrote or like read the 10-sentence like about on the back of the book and then just made the series based on that, and then watched the 90s miniseries.
Oh my god.
And I need to see it. It's about a clown that was a dwarf that got made fun of, and that's why he became an evil clown. And the way they stop him is they get his mom to be like, I was never ashamed of your height. I'm just ashamed of the way you're acting. And then he's just like, is good again.
It's essentially the same as the remake, right? Where they just
shave at
like,
the end.
Hey, you stop that.
Yeah.
He's like, okay.
I am dying to watch it. But when I was looking that up, I found out that there's and also one for Misery that I need to see, but it's apparently on YouTube. I just don't know if it's got captioning, so I would know what's going on.
Wow.
So
I just remember
week,
that
we're doing
shot of the
Indian version of Misery.
Oh my god. I just can't even imagine.
Oh yeah, the clown in the Indian version is infinitely more terrifying than any of the American ones.
Well, yeah, because
he
just looks like a guy.
And he haunts me.
Yes, I post him a lot because I fucking love it. There's you can watch clips of it on my friend Anoop. I had sent him I tweeted at him today because I was just like, hey, you're in India. Do you know anything about this? Was this ever released on anything? Can I buy this on DVD? What is up? And he was like, I don't know about DVD, but he sent me a link on YouTube that doesn't play in the U.S. It's just in India. You can watch all 52 episodes.
Oh, man.
So if I get a VPN, I can watch it. But you can watch clips of it on YouTube in the U.S. Like, you can watch the Georgie scene that is, because they don't have really, like, sewer systems per se there, that they shot it in a swimming pool.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. My one like memory is just like seeing the Pennywise just like standing in a pool.
It's so awesome. I encourage everybody to look that up. It's named like I guess it's pronounced Woh, W-O-H, which is just like it in Indian. I highly suggest watching that clip on YouTube. It's fucking so good.
I cannot wait.
All right, anyway.
Okay, so
So people get folded by a laundry machine.
I feel bad if like this is somehow someone's first episode listening to us, because this has just been quite the journey here. So The Mangler is a short story that was first published in a collection called The Night Shift that came out in 1978, and it was his first collection of short stories. Some other notable stories that were in that one is Jerusalem's Lot, which obviously is Salem's Lot, Graveyard Shift, Trucks, which is Maximum Overdrive.
Real quick, do you know this? Was there a movie called Trucks as well? Or is that just like a different... Okay, I couldn't tell. I want to watch the shit out of that, because...
It's a different adaptation, right? It's not just like a separate thing called Trucks.
That's what I couldn't figure out. When we were trying to plan out what we were going to do for Stephen King month, like, I kept coming across that, and I couldn't tell if it was just like a different name for Maximum Overdrive.
I mean, so the short story that Maximum Overdrive is based off of is Trucks, and I know that there's an adaptation, but I don't know. Like, it is listed in, if you go to the Night Shift like Wikipedia page, that is listed, but I don't know what it is.
Trucks is a 1997 Canadian and American television horror film directed by Chris Thompson. It is a remake of the story Trucks. I want to see this now.
What if all the trucks are like really polite because it's in Canada?
They're just killing people for Timbits.
The trucks
Could I bother
are driven by
you?
beavers, actually.
Could I just take your life? Just spot. I don't know why that was sort of British.
That was British.
I don't know anything about Canada. So also the Lawnmower Man is in that, and then Children of the Corn.
Oh my god, I want to do Lawnmower Man on this podcast so bad, and it's not streaming anywhere.
It's, yeah.
And Lawnmower Man 2 Beyond Cyberspace.
So that's another one where they just took like the idea of the story and just like ran with it. So I can't even imagine like what that movie. I also can't. How is there 2 other movies of The Mangler?
That's what I was.
The Mangler 2, Escape Before It Rips You Apart, and
the
then
Mangler Reborn.
The Massacre Continues.
I want to watch both of them right now.
Immediately.
You guys keep talking.
This episode's over. We're watching Mangler 2.
I'm just gonna watch these while you guys are talking.
Okay.
Like without the people involved, I can't imagine the Mangler is these sequels are and The Mangler 2, also known as The Mangler 2 Graduation Day.
Oh.
Oh my god, this has Lance Hendrickson in it. I'm watching the fuck out of this.
Why does it have like the same cover as Westworld?
It just looks like it's like
because
a fucking a rip-off.
a teenage girl downloads a Mangler 2.0 computer virus into her school's new state-of-the-art computer system, and all hell breaks.
I am fucking in. You just sold me. I'm renting the shit out of this.
Oh my god, the pictures I'm seeing are incredible.
I'm going to find cheap copies of this on DVD and mail them to both of you, and we're gonna fucking watch this movie, cover it.
I'm emailing Scream Factory right now. I need a 4K restoration.
Yes, the trilogy. Just put it all out.
The quintessential trilogy.
Let's just
Mangler.
never actually talk about this movie.
I mean,
just to see how long we can be silent.
okay.
All right, yeah, this movie just opens. That's a lady getting folded in half.
Yeah. Okay, so I am gonna tell you that this movie was like 2 hours long.
Yeah,
There's a lot
hour and 46 minutes, which is entirely too long for anything that doesn't have Captain America in it.
There's a lot of talking. So like, obviously, whenever we do recaps of these movies, we don't say every single thing that happens in the movie. This one, more than previous movies, I cut out a lot because I was just like, number one, I don't understand anything that Mark is saying. Also, like, it's just so long, and there's like a bunch of it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
a lot of stuff that
like,
doesn't matter. So
pretty much until like the last 20 minutes, like it's just a detective being like, this fucking company's got weird, like, bad labor practices.
yeah, I don't really understand his like captivation. I don't understand his motivation for why he's doing what he's doing. And they also are like, at one point are just like, I mean, I just don't understand like what's driving him.
Movie ends with him unionizing fucking whatever this place is.
Yeah.
Movie with a happy ending.
Okay, so we basically open in a laundry factory. And there's all these ladies running around sweating because it's hot, and there's a man yelling at them, and we see like a long shot of like the machinery. There's a new girl named Lin Sue, who I just wrote new girl the whole time, but Lin Sue is kind of a weird name. And she's like new there, and all the ladies who've been there before like being mean to her for some reason. And then there's this old lady named Miss Frowley who gives her like weird advice. She's basically just like, look out for yourself, whatever. So then we see the Hadley Watson 6, which is the biggest laundry machine I've ever seen in my whole life. It's like literally back when computers used to be the size of a room, like that's what it is.
I don't understand the purpose of this machine.
So I think that, so basically they're a laundry factory, and I assume, I don't know like who they do business with, but they work with sheets a lot. So the machine, they feed the sheet into the machine, and I think it like presses them, like steam presses them, and then folds them, and then it comes out on the other side like washed, like steamed, folded.
It seems
and then
like so much work.
It's a really big machine for what it does, I feel like. So I don't really know. So then basically
somebody gets folded in half.
They get steamed.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't read my handwriting. So basically, like, you're introduced to Sherry, who is, like, pretty much, like, one of the main characters. Her actress does not have a picture, but she hasn't been in anything I've ever heard of. But anyways, so she is, like, working on the machine with this other girl, and the girl's like, hey, you need to tighten the belt because we need to put thicker sheets in it or something. I have no idea. And so she goes to like tighten it, and somehow the handle mangles her, and she like slops blood all over the place, like all over the machine, all over the sheets.
Her first reaction is not like to grab her hand and stop the bleeding, but to just slap her hand around to spray as much blood everywhere as she possibly can.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do.
That's why we're in a pandemic
Get
right
this
now.
blood out of me.
So then we have these two of the fucking worst delivery men I have ever seen in anything in my whole life. They are hauling out an old icebox, which for people who don't know what an icebox is, it's like pretty much like it's like
It's
a
a
fridge,
refrigerator,
except
basically.
Right.
It's a box for ice.
right. So it's like, old timey. It's old timey, you hear? And the dude
Vintage.
like drop the icebox and it hits her and then hits the machine, and for some reason lightning is happening. And that's when we see Robert Englund shows up looking like a Batman villain. So he has his legs are in these like silver braces that are like all intricate. And he also has like two walkers. He has like one of his eyes, he's blind in one of his eyes, so he's like wearing these crazy glasses that have like a black lens on one side, and then is it called a stoma?
Oh.
He also has like when people get like throat cancer from smoking and then they get like a voice box put in or whatever. He has that too. So he's like, doing his voice and he's like coughing gross a bunch. So he like does this thing a lot where he just like paces back and forth like up on like the scaffolding or whatever. And he's yelling "goddamn sons of bitches" the whole time, because you find out later that Sherry is his niece, so he's like really upset that she's been hurt, basically. But at this point, you think he's just like running around, he's just like screaming and stuff.
I just thought he was a bad boss.
I mean, yeah, because then you have the foreman who's also just like running around and screaming the whole time. So, I mean, I guess I don't know. So and then basically they're like, do something. And he's like, life's a bitch. And then they start yelling at them to go back to work. So then we get a shot of the beautiful Maine countryside. We're in Rikers Valley. And this man who is the main character, Hunton, comes out. And you can tell immediately that he's like a detective because he's wearing a trench coat. So he is leaving for work. He almost collides with the delivery guys in their truck delivering the icebox. So, like, they can't drive either. And so he gets out of his car and starts yelling at them, and they're like, "We're delivering." And he says, "I don't care if you're delivering a pizza to the Pope. Move that fucking truck." And so then they call him an asshole, and he's like, "That's officer asshole to you." And so, like, there's just been a lot of yelling. So then basically we go back to the factory, and the lady, Miss Fowley or whatever, is just like real casually just like leaning on the Mangler, as you do, I guess, because you're really conscious of work safety and whatnot. And she almost gets mangled, but she doesn't. They tricked us. Then you get a shot of the two delivery guys taking the icebox out of the truck, and it falls on the officer, which pretty sure would have hurt him pretty badly in real life because it fell literally off the truck onto him.
It's a very large icebox.
It is, and now it's fallen on two people. So
Cursed.
Yeah, cursed object. So then you see, like, Mrs. Foley again. She keeps, like, taking some kind of pills that you find out are antacids, but it takes a really long time to figure that out. So I'm not really sure, like, what the point of it was. Even at the end when you find out, I still don't really understand. So then Sherry's hand just starts profusely bleeding. And she's just like, "Ow, my hand." And then the bandage just, like, is engorged in blood, which is a little... like, probably she needs to go to the hospital, but whatever. So Mrs. Foley gets scared and, like, drops her antacids into the machine and decides that she's gonna, instead of just, like, picking one off the floor or something, she's gonna, like, reach into the machine and, like, get the pills, and it pulls her in. And she gets mangled, and it completely splatters everybody. And then Robert Englund comes out and he yells, "Hell's bells, Adele!" And he's just like pacing back and forth. So
I like that. So she gets like pulled in hand first, and then her head's in there not long after, but everyone's still trying to like pull out just her legs. Like
Yeah.
everyone else is just like, no, we have to save like her ankles, I guess. Like the woman's clearly dead.
The continuity of how people get mangled does not make any sense because like sometimes it's like she was barely like she didn't have her hand under the mangler, right? There was like a safety bar where
Yeah.
the pill stopped and she was like trying to just like pick one out and it just got her. But then like later somebody completely lays on the mangler and they're still fine. And they start going under and they get pulled out and they're fine. So I'm like, how? I don't know. Whatever.
Some people are just unmangleable.
I guess so. So yeah, so she gets got, and then Hunton is like writing the delivery guys a bunch of tickets, you know, because they're terrible and they don't know how to drive and they drop ice boxes on people. And yeah, he just like throws the ticket at them because he gets a call that there was a death at the Blue Ribbon Laundry Factory. And so he goes. So Sherry is like covered in blood. She's hysterical. And the new girl, Lin Su, comes over to her and is like, it's okay. Her worries are over now. Excuse me? Like, in what world do you... I don't know. I was just like, wow. So... the foreman is in there and he's like, oh, hey, says to the detective, like, oh, she's back, like, on the other side of the mangler, like, I can't look at her body, it's like too gross, basically. And Hutton is kind of like making fun of him. He's like, oh, can't look at it. Then he goes back there and immediately throws up once he sees her mangled body. And there's like a weird scene where the picture man shows up. They have like a really weird back and forth that I don't really understand.
I wish there was a movie called The Picture Man.
There should be. So then basically these oh yeah, so Hutton like throws up and then he leaves because he's like, this is gross, I can't do this. And then 3 guys show up who I don't really think you get a very good explanation of who they are, so it doesn't super make sense to me until the end. So it's like the sheriff, I think the judge, and then somebody else, and they basically come to just do like a safety inspection on the machine because there was supposed to be like a safety bar that stopped people from getting like sucked in, essentially. And that's where you get the shot of the paramedics bringing out the body like literally in a basket, which is pretty gross. They do tests on the machine and find out that it was just an accident, so they are just going to go about business as normal, which is the worst thing I've ever heard of because it's like someone just got mangled in a machine. But
to working in America.
I know, it's like literally
nothing has changed in what, 24 years since this movie came out? 25 years?
Essentially, yeah. So this is where you get a scene of Hutton, and who we find out is Mark, just like in his backyard, and he's eating a gross steak with 1 slice of tomato, apparently.
This is like 2 pieces of like bell peppers next to it as well. It's weird.
Yeah, I was like, okay, and
that is a feast.
I mean, I guess so. He doesn't really eat like in this movie. Like there's a lot of food that happens that he just like doesn't eat it. So they have this like weird back and forth. Mark says something really strange. He asks him how long he's been chasing corpses, which is like a really weird way of asking him how long he's like been a detective. And he's just like 14 years. You find out that he wants to retire. And then this is like where you get sort of an idea that he had a wife who was dead, basically. And then Mark says that he needs to get a life, and Hutton's like, I got a life. I need a beer. Which
Oh.
So then Hutton asks, like, offhandedly asks if Mark knows anything about industrial laundries, and Mark's just like, oh yeah, of course I do. I worked in one. Okay. Why not?
Duh, you fool.
Like, sure, everyone has, I guess. So then you find out that it's a speed iron. So yeah, like it flattens the sheets, irons them, and then whatever. And then he's like, it's a speed iron, it's a mangle. And then Hutton's like, a mangler? And then so they just call it Mangler the rest of the time.
Mangle is the worst word in the fucking English language.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It just sounds
Not a fan.
gross.
It does. It does because
Take it to the mangle. Ugh.
So, Mark is basically like, yeah, the safety bar definitely should have stopped her from getting killed and gross. And then we get these like flashes of the machine and like a bunch of gore. And then Hutton goes, it folded her like a sheet.
I watched
I
her
don't know
get
why
carried out in a basket.
Yeah.
This movie is really just an hour and 46 minutes of this dude, like, discussing a fucking safety bar.
Yeah. Essentially. So, then for some reason, so yeah, and that's basically when Marx is like, why are you like stuck on this case? Like, who is making you investigate this? And he's literally like, nobody. I can't do anything because the foreman, or not the foreman, but Robert Englund like owns the judge who owns the sheriff, and it's all just like dirty. You might say it's dirty laundry.
Fired.
So, so you are getting the idea that there's some kind of conspiracy, but at this point, I'm still sort of like, I still don't understand why he cares about it, or like what he expects to find out. I don't know. So, Mark is basically just like, yeah, I mean, this town is weird. And then there's like this weird scene of them going back to Hutton's house, and he offers Mark yogurt, and Mark asks if it's whole wheat yogurt, and I was like,
yeah,
what?
that bummed me out so much.
And then he's like, oh, I have granola, and he's like, is it organic? And I was like, what is happening here? And then it just like fades out. So I'm not really sure what. I guess because this is like where we find out that Mark is like living behind his house. I don't know, weird. So then back to the factory, the ladies are working again, and then a hose comes loose from the Mangler machine and it's like spraying steam everywhere, and people are screaming and running around. And Lin Sue runs up to Robert Englund, is like begging him to do something about it, and instead he's just like, go into my office. And then there's just this like dialogue about how I guess he saved her from quote unquote the streets, and then grossly tells her to go freshen up for him, and then he's gonna go watch her take a bath. So
this scene was one of the ones I just happened to like look up at, and I was very unhappy.
yeah, it's pretty gross.
Yeah.
I will not linger on it. So Hunton and Mark are gazing at the stars together for some reason. He gets a call about the steam accident, that 3 women got burns, and one of them had to go to the hospital. So, and it's Annette, who is just like one of the other main character girls, I guess. So they immediately go to the hospital, but the doctor has already given Annette a shot for her pain, and Hutton just like questions her, and then like about what happened, and Mark asks if she bled on the Mangler, if Sherry bled on the Mangler, and then they find out that the Mangler was bled on. So this is when you finally find out that Mark is like his brother-in-law, and I don't really understand. Basically, Mark, they like go to Mark's house and they're reading just from like an occult book, and Mark is just saying like a bunch of stuff. I could not process any of it. And then he basically is saying that he thinks the machine is possessed, and basically Hunton like doesn't believe him and makes fun of him and says it's like all bullshit or whatever. So then back at the factory, everyone's leaving, and Lin Sue is like coming down from Robert Englund's like apartment in the factory, even though he has like a huge house. That seems weird to me. But anyways, so the machine like sparks, and she goes over, to it and gets grabbed by the Mangler. The foreman saves her, but it like rips her finger off, I guess. And instead of taking her to the hospital, Robert Englund's just like, bring her to me. So then basically Hunton and Mark is trying to tell Hunton that it's the blood of a virgin that made the machine come back to life, I guess. Which I don't really know how he got there, but that's where we are. So then they go to Robert Englund's house so that they can talk to Sherry. And Hunton admires a bookshelf full of dolls for some reason. And then is like asking her questions, and she gets upset. And they kind of are like, all right, well, we're going to leave now. And then Mark just is like, hey, are you a virgin? And she freaks out, and she's like, get out, get out. And Hunton is mad about it, obviously. He's like, I told you not to say that. This whole movie is just like Hunton telling Mark not to do stuff, and then Mark doing the stuff. Because he's like, don't ask if she's a virgin, like, don't get out of the car. He just like doesn't listen. So then they are driving.
Brother-in-law.
I know, right? Classic English brother-in-law for some reason. So they're going back to the house, and they see police lights in front of the house where the icebox is dropped off, and you find out that a child has suffocated in it. Mark finds a bloody handprint on it, which is from earlier when Sherry gets mangled and she touched the icebox, like when it fell on her or whatever. And then the lady's basically just like, I don't know where, like, the kid's death is not her fault because she didn't even order the icebox. She doesn't know why it's there, which is really weird. And then the picture man shows up again and just like is taking pictures and has like a weird back and forth with Hutton about it. And then Mark is talking about how there was the bloody handprint is a transference of evil, and they open the icebox and there's like dead birds and a bird inside, and so Mark reaches in to try and get the bird out, and the icebox grabs him, and
As it does.
I mean, you can't be putting your hands in stuff, you know. So Hutton like pulls Mark out, and then he's just like, do you have a hammer? And so he gets a hammer and just like wails on it. And
this whole scene is bonkers.
It is. So the picture man's like taking pictures of Mark just like wailing on this icebox with a hammer. Then he like knocks the top off of it, and then a swirling vortex comes out, and there's like lightning. I don't really know.
This whole part just like I felt like was like a precursor to like Poltergeist. Like it had that same feel of like what he did with Poltergeist.
Yeah. So they're like all basically they're all very scared.
Even to the point of like this actor screaming like fucking Charles Nelson Riley or whatever. Just that's who's at Poltergeist, right?
Oh, I don't know his name.
Coach.
Oh, Craig T. Nelson?
Craig T. Nelson. That's right. I don't know what the fuck's Charles Nelson Riley?
I'm very curious.
I mean,
anytime
I know that's
someone
an
has
actor,
three
but
names, I'm like, I don't know.
now I'm just thinking of
I'm looking up.
Craig T.
Okay.
Nelson.
Craig
Krang
T. Nelson?
on Twitter.
Craig
T. Nelson.
Charles Nelson Riley was killer in All Dogs Go to Heaven.
I knew that was like a real
movie.
person, like an actor. Like, I don't know why that was the name that came into my mind, though.
He was Jose Chung in The X-Files also.
He was Red Parrot Stan in Tom and Jerry in Shiver Me Whiskers.
Wow.
And the Dirty Bubble in the SpongeBob SquarePants movie.
The fuck?
The Charles Nelson Riley podcast now. He's in Family Matters.
Mr. Hathaway in The Drew Carey Show. His most important role.
Dutch Spackle and Goof Troop.
Okay, that's his most important role. I stand corrected.
But Katie's just like, I'm trying to talk about this fucking movie. These two
No, sorry.
jerk-offs.
I'm getting text messages that are important. Okay, so I didn't hear anything you guys said except I love All Dogs Go to Heaven, so let's just swing around there. We were Vortex, yeah, a Vortex, and then Mark just starts chanting some stuff, and it just disappears. The picture, so this part was weird because everyone's like very freaked out, right? And the pictureman's just like, "Thanks, Hutton," because he's never seen a ghost before. He's just like, "Thanks for that." So, I mean, I guess. So then, for some reason, Hutton's like, there's like a policeman there that responded to the suffocation, and he's like, "Get this thing out of my sight. Burn it, and bury the icebox, and stab it in the heart." That's not his voice, but I can't do it.
That's pretty close.
And then they just leave, which is, and the policeman's just like, "What just happened?" And so basically Mark is like, "Okay, well, like, we're part of this story now. We have to do something about it." And at this point, you guys, there's still an hour of the movie left.
Oh my god. And plus, like, the ads for where we had to watch it, like, every time ads came on, I was like, I have to be, like, an hour and 20 minutes of this movie. It'd been, like, 15 minutes.
I actually was a little worried that I wasn't going to finish it in time, so, yeah. So then, Mark is like...
And yet we still recorded early.
I know. Mark is like, it's a random act of possession, and then for some reason Hutton decides that he's going to go to the morgue, and this is where you get a weird scene with the mortician where he is like literally just eating cherry tomatoes out of a container that he has rested on top of Mrs. Fowley. So that's fun, I guess. They like show us, so basically the mortician is like, she showed up and she was just like literally in pieces and I had to stitch her back together, and they show her and it looks pretty gross. Then Hutton goes through his purse and he takes the antacids and is like talking to himself basically, and the pictureman shows up and is like, "Hey, do you want to hang out?" And Hutton's just like, "No, I don't want to be here anymore because I don't like my job." And then the pictureman is basically just like, "Well, you're not going to see my ugly mug around here," because you find out that he has cancer. And Hutton is basically like really nonchalantly like, "Hey, like, what about the photos of the icebox? Like, what was that ghost?" And he was just like, "I don't know. Times are strange."
Relatable.
Right. And so then Hutton goes back to the laundry factory. At night, it's closed, but he climbs up a drain pipe, and he's, like, looking around, and the Mangler grabs his goddamn trench coat.
Oh my god, this is my favorite scene of the whole movie.
So he's just, like, rolling around on the Mangler for a while, and then he finally, like, takes out his gun and just, like, shoots
He shoots
his trench
his
coat off, I
jacket,
guess?
like, to, like, get free, and it is so good. It's so stupid.
So that was crazy. The foreman comes in and is basically just like, "What are you doing here?" This whole scene with like the foreman and Hutton is so weird because they're just like yelling at each other. He's just like, "I want to see Gatley," which is Robert Englund, and he's like, "No, he's not here." And he's like, "I want to see him," and he's like, "He's not here." And they're just like yelling at each other. Hutton goes running up the stairs and like bursts into his office, and he's just like, "You son of a bitch, you're lying to me. Here he is." And like, and then Robert Englund's just like, "It's fine," to the foreman, like, "Please leave." So then Robert Englund's like talking to him, and he calls him Sherlock Holmes of the dead, which like I don't understand what it's kind of like I just don't understand like what they are setting up the backstory of his character to be. Like, we don't know anything about the past cases that he's handled. He barely handles any cases that happen in the movie. He just kind of like shows up and then throws up and is like mad about things that are happening. So like I don't understand what these lines mean, or like I just don't understand.
I don't know anything that has going on in this entire movie except for the guy that shot his trench coat to escape a machine.
all you need to know, really.
Yeah, I mean, that was a pretty good scene. Um,
That
so
and the fucking dog fuck line. This movie could
I
have
did.
literally been 5 minutes long, and it would have been a masterpiece.
If he was shooting his trench coat off and called the Mangler a dog fuck.
Called his trench coat a dog fuck.
Did he say
Combined.
that when he was like messing up the icebox?
He says it.
He says it twice.
He may have said it during this scene, or it's towards the end before the machine starts chasing him. Because he attacks somebody and he's like, "You miserable piece of dog fuck," and I was like, "Wait, what? What's happening?" It was like that line caught me so off guard and made me laugh so much.
I didn't write it down because I knew one of you would you would have it. Yeah.
I'm
so
getting that
basically,
line tattooed on me somewhere.
on your forehead.
Just the fucking. I'm gonna get the entire Mangler on my back with just that line around it.
My God.
Dog fuck has knuckle tattoos, but dog's gonna have 2 G's.
I love it. Okay, so basically, Hutton is like, you need to shut down the machine, and Robert Englund is basically like, no, that the Mangler and me are the lifeblood of the town, and sometimes you have to make sacrifices and like a bunch of other vague stuff. And then he's basically just like,
just thinking about a town that wouldn't survive without a laundry folding machine.
I mean, that's like,
who's gonna steam our sheets?
So then
we can't do this ourselves.
Have you seen the size of those sheets? It's hard.
What? Those are monster beds they're going on.
I mean, yeah. So Robert Englund is basically just like, hey, if you don't get out of here, I'm going to get you suspended and arrested for trespassing. And so Hutton just like leaves. The foreman goes in there and is just like, I don't know. I think maybe we should shut down the machine. And then you get the backstory of the machine, which is basically that it's been around since Robert Englund was a boy. His dad bought it, and the machine mangled him and killed his daughter. But he owes everything that he has, aka him being rich, to the machine. And like that's all you really find out at this point. So the foreman is just like, well, I don't know. And he's like, you know, Robert Englund pretty much is like, hey, you need to like do what we say because then you'll be rich, basically. It's like you have to be one of us or not. And so the foreman's just like, okay, whatever. So Robert Englund calls the sheriff, and he's basically says that he's having a problem with Hutton and Lin Su. Lin Su, you know, who stays in that apartment, is like overhearing everything that's happening. And so the sheriff like calls Hutton in his car, and they have this really weird back and forth where the sheriff's basically just like, hey, there's no case here, like it's an accidental death, you should just take a vacation. And Hutton basically just like gives him lip and gets fired. So there's that. And he can forget about his pension. I was like, that escalated really quickly. But Lin Su, so Robert Englund goes in to see her. She's like all sweating, and she says she feels weird. And then, you know, because she lost a finger or whatever to the Mangler. And Robert Englund's like, basically like, I'm going to show you, I need to like tell you something. Opens the safe and shows her his daughter's death certificate and also a contract that he made with the machine, which is why Rikers Valley is quote unquote so perfect. And now that the Mangler has a part of her, she is part of the club. So like, I still don't really understand how the machine, it's a demon, right? It's a demon in the machine, but I just like don't really understand. I guess maybe the town's entire wealth comes from the factory, maybe, or it's just some kind of like magic where they're blessed with a lot of money. I don't really understand.
The more you're explaining what happened in this movie to me, the more I hate it.
Okay, so then there's another scene of Hutton talking to Mark. I cut out. I literally wrote a line through it, so who knows what happened. More witchcraft, occult stuff. The foreman comes back that night with someone to help him turn off the power to the Mangler so that he can like dismantle it or whatever. Sherry shows up and sees I didn't finish writing whatever that was. Sherry shows up anyways.
We're very put together this week.
Oh my god, you guys, yeah.
Killing it.
I think so. Sherry shows up. Oh, I think she looks up at Robert Englund and is like, "Oh my god!" And then the foreman gets startled, and then he gets mangled. And this happens a long time. He basically gets his arm is like stuck in there, and he's like yelling at the guy who came with him to cut his arm off, and he yells, "Do it!" for like 20 minutes. And so the guy finally like chops his arm off to stop him from getting mangled. But then I don't think you ever see him again, so I don't...
This...
Oh, is that him at the end still? I don't know.
This is when the miserable piece of dog fuck line happens, because like that dude's like laying on the machine, like bleeding out, and he goes and like attacks maybe Robert Englund and starts screaming at him.
I don't know. So this is when Lin Sue shows up and she suddenly just like looks evil. I don't. She's just like.
This is when she becomes Sin
now.
Lu.
That's right. So then when Sherry sees that guy get his arm chopped off, she screams and runs away because she is, for like the 5th time in this movie, completely covered in blood. Hutton and Mark go to the morgue to talk to Pictureman, but he is being taken out on a stretcher and he dies. So they go down to his office, which for some reason we need to see them run down 10 flights of stairs to get there, as if this movie isn't long enough already. And there's a clipping, there's like a newspaper clipping on the wall of Hutton's like wife's accident or whatever, but the headline is "Detective's Wife Dies in Horror Smash." Couldn't you just say that there was a car accident?
So she died during a performance of the Monster Mash?
Yes. It was a horror smash.
I guess that's Graveyard Smash, but either way.
Yeah.
I stand by it.
Yeah. So,
Well,
and then you find out that he was like driving, and like I don't really understand why any of this matters at all. And I don't really know why Pictureman had that clipping in his room.
I just want to be done so we could stop saying Pictureman.
It's like Candyman. You say it 5 times, and he shows up in all of your pictures.
Oh my god.
You're looking on Facebook, and it's like, I don't remember that guy in my selfie.
That dude was at my wedding? Damn.
Giant ass camera.
Right. Okay, so then they find a package that was for Hutton that is an old scrapbook of a bunch of news clippings of deaths of 16-year-old girls, and you find out that I literally wrote this and then he said it. It's all of the daughters of the quote-unquote rich people. So it's like Robert Englund's daughter, it's the judge, it's everyone who is like basically in cahoots in the town. It's the rich people.
Always
so is. Right? Literally is always the rich people. So Hutton calls Sherry and asks if she's 16, and I wrote LOL because she definitely does not look like she's 16 years old. She's like in her 20s for sure. So ironically, it is also she's 16 because today's her birthday. As Kid is also enjoying his 16th birthday today.
Hey.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Finally drive.
Kid got a car today.
I can finally drive. And now that you can't go anywhere, you can drive.
I can't leave the house, but I'll just drive in circles.
But you're 16, so it's fine. Just do donuts in the yard.
Just sit in your car and listen to like a CD. Pretend you're driving.
I can't even do that anymore. Like before, I don't have any way to listen to CDs, and it used to be my car, and now I don't have a car. So I have a stack of CDs that I literally cannot listen to.
I have
just like
so many CDs that I was gonna go try and sell that I now can't, and I'm probably just gonna dump somewhere before I move.
Fuck. Brutal.
Just gonna throw them right in the middle of the street.
You should just save them so whenever you're driving, like if anyone tries to hassle you, you can wing them at them.
I was literally just thinking, throw an entire box of them out on the highway. Have these exhumed CDs. Just fucking throw them.
I'll take those.
I have a bunch. It's just the problem's like, trying to get them mailed out to people if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Or like dealing with that for the next 2 weeks.
Mail is so expensive nowadays. And half the time you don't even get it, so...
I'm currently waiting for your birthday present to show up. That's been sitting in customs for a week.
It's not going to at this point.
Nope.
It's gonna wind up back on your lawn.
That's right. Okay, so after she hangs up the phone, she goes into another room and there's basically a birthday cake that says "Happy Birthday, Kit," and then Robert Englund busts in, and Sherry, he says, I don't know, there's some dialogue, and then he asks Sherry to make a wish, and she says she wishes he was dead, which, yeah.
Same.
Lin Su, I'm sorry, Su Lin. What did I say? Sin Lu. I can't even. Shows up and like knocks her down, and then they chloroform her. So, oh my god, I wrote so many and I don't even know what this means anymore. So basically, I think there's just a scene about Mark telling Hutton about like how to do the ritual. Because they're like on the way to the factory, and at the factory, Robert Englund and Lin Su show up, and this is where they put Sherry down on the Mangler, and she's just like laying on it for like forever, and it's like pulling her in, and like half of her body is gone, but she's not mangled at all somehow. And Robert Englund calls the Mangler the quote-unquote god of all machines, which I guess that's a thing. And
pretty weird.
Yeah. Basically says that this is his last payment that he has to make, which is the sacrifice of Sherry. So Hutton comes in, easily grabs Sherry off of the Mangler belt, and then starts fighting with Robert Englund. Lin Su is like attacking Mark and Sherry, and then Mark ends up throwing Lin Su into the Mangler, and Robert Englund is super pissed because he cannot exploit this child anymore. Robert Englund's like smacking the machine, and oh my god, this part though, so he's like smacking the machine, and he's like walking the length of the machine calling Lin Su's name, which like once you get in there, you're not coming out. You know what I mean? But at the end, there's just like a pile of gore, and there's like literally a Barbie doll head, or not a Barbie doll. It's like a baby doll head, like in the gore. And I was just like, ooh. So it's probably good that they cut out the gore, like the other gore that they did, because that did not look very good.
Disagree.
Works in Velocipaster did not work in this movie for me. So Hutton is basically just like, you suck, and punches Robert Englund, and he gets caught on a part of the machine, and the machine lifts him up to the top of like where the folding irons are, and he gets folded up basically, and he dies. It's just like his legs, his like legs get like folded up on him, and he basically is just like, you lied to me, you machine, and then he dies. So Mark is like reading Latin at this point, and they do this ritual. There's like a bunch of smoke and sparks for like 10 minutes, and then the machine just like turns off, and they're like happy, and they're like, oh my god, yay. And then this is when they take the antacids, and it turns out that the antacids are actually have belladonna in them, which is nightshade, which like I'm pretty sure is poisonous to humans. And also, I don't really understand, like, there was like some part earlier where Mark was talking about Belladonna, and so I don't know if they're trying to say that like because the pills went into the machine in the beginning that it like grew in power because of that. So like I don't really understand this whole point at all, but that's what happened. And then Mark is basically literally says like I think we're fucked, and then the machine explodes and like comes to life, I guess. I don't know. Does anyone want to try to explain like what it looks like?
I like looked up at one point, and it's like right as they were getting to the scene that's coming up as like that weird like running down the stairs thing. And I was like, what's happening? And then the machine popped up, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? It's like, it's so weird. It looks like, oh man, I got like an image in my head that, Katie, you know that Snapchat filter that turns your face into like a square with like the weird frown?
Yeah.
It looks like that.
I just can't even like describe like I don't know. I can't describe what it looks like, but I guess the point is that it stops being just like a stationary machine and becomes some kind of like machine demon that can walk, and it has arms and hands. But it's like machine parts.
This movie should have ended with the machine like hitchhiking to get out of town.
And then that's when Maximum Overdrive starts.
Yes.
Should do a Mangler Maximum Overdrive Hitcher triple crossover.
Oh, I'm here for that. So they run away from the now sentient machine, and the machine chases them. And then you get like a long chasing scene, and then eventually Mark tries to do more chanting, but just gets ripped in half. So R.I.P. Mark. Yeah. The machine chases Sherry and Hunton. Like, for some reason, they found this, like, subterranean staircase that, like, looks like it goes down for, like, a really long time. But, Sherry decides that she randomly, after, you know, running away from the machine for, like, 10 minutes, is just like, oh, I'm gonna sacrifice myself because he wants me, and then if he gets me, then like he'll stop. So she just like sticks her hand in there in the machine's mouth, but Hutton pulls her out, and then they jump off the staircase and into a sewer for some reason. There's a sewer down there, and then the machine kind of like spits fire at them for a little bit, and then just like is done. Hutton and Sherry escape and go to a really weird looking hospital that kind of looks like a museum, and the doctor comes out and is just like, she's gonna be fine, like, do you want to tell me what happened? And Hutton's like, no, I don't want to tell you what happened. And then the doctor's like, okay, well, you can see her tomorrow, see you tomorrow. And then he turns around and waves, and you notice that his finger is missing, but Hutton is like, this is fine, and just leaves anyway. So when Hutton gets
to
home,
that college campus for the sequel.
Yeah, right. So Hutton gets home, and he gets a letter from JJJ Pitchman telling him basically to watch out for people with missing parts and something about demons. I don't really know. So Harry, why do we keep saying Harry? Hutton.
Trying to combine them.
I know. Hutton just like doesn't seem alarmed about this note at all, and goes back to the laundry factory to see Sherry and bring her flowers. The machine, even though it exploded, is now just normal, and then you see Sherry is now the boss, and she's yelling at all the girls, and she looks up and waves at Hutton, and she's got a missing finger. And then he just leaves, and that is the end.
What a dumb movie.
I'm not. Yeah. So basically, so Oh, you know what? I think I totally skipped over a section.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
No,
that's fine.
so
We don't need to.
basically, like the point of it is that there's a demon inside of the machine, and then people, like the people who are all rich in the town, had signed a contract, and they had to give up a sacrifice, and the sacrifice was their 16-year-old daughters. But I don't really understand why Robert England had to make another sacrifice at the end. Like, I guess they just had to over time make more and more sacrifices in order to like stay. But at that point, it's like, don't you have enough money? Also, your legs, you are like mangled for life, and nobody likes you. So like, is that worth it? I don't know. And then like, what happens if they stop sacrificing people? Like, and I also don't understand why it was dormant until it got virgin blood on it, and then all of a sudden they had to start sacrificing again. And like, why did they keep using it as a regular laundry thing? Why didn't they just stop using it and then just give it, like, did it like the work, I guess?
You're putting way too much thought into the murderous laundry film.
Literally, I don't even think Stephen King thought about that.
See, I have read Night Shift, but I think they've done like a couple different versions of it. I think I got the audiobook version of Night Shift, and I don't think Mangler was in it. So I don't think I've read it, but I just don't. Like the description says, a laundry folding machine has been possessed by a demon, causing it to develop homicidal tendencies. So like, do they have to make the sacrifice so that it'll stop killing people? I just don't understand. I think the movie was too long, and now having like gone through and explaining it, I think it just didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's stupid. This movie's dumb. It just looks cool.
I mean, sometimes it's like one of those things where you're like, well, a serial killer laundry machine could be crazy enough that it's good. It's really hit or miss, I guess.
I mean, again, we've said it a couple times. This movie just needed to be like 25 minutes less. Or like 25 minutes shorter, and it would have been way better.
I don't know about way better, but
It would have been so much better. If it was just
Considerably.
if it was just like this machine like killing people and then like Robert England being fucking weird, this movie would have been awesome. But it's just there's so much shit with like the detective, and it just like makes it slow and long.
well, so I guess to kind of like say what I was trying to say in a more concise point, it was like there was a lot of stuff and backstory going on in this movie, but none of it was explained enough for any of it to have made sense or matter.
Yeah.
So that was the Mangler.
Now I need to watch that fucking sequel with Lance Hendrickson.
Absolutely.
I mean, that pretty much was an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer 2, where there was like a demon who used to be like a demon book, and then he was a demon in a computer, and he catfishes Willow.
I feel like that was probably just a part of like everything during this time period.
Probably any like serial kind of, yeah, probably.
Fuck. Is there like any news? I've not looked at anything that isn't the terrible real news.
I think there's, yeah, no, there's not a lot because everything is flooded with terrible
Nightmares.
things. One of the things that I had for last week was that the official sequel to Velocipaster has been written. So if they can get funding, they're going to start filming soon, and so I'm excited for that.
Better be a cat in it.
And then the only other thing I saw is that so What We Do in the Shadows season 2 is supposed to air in April, I think like the 17th or something, and they were just released another sort of like trailer for season 2. So there's 2 now, and they both look really funny, and I can't wait.
I still need to watch that first one.
Same.
Yeah, it's on Hulu right now if you guys have Hulu.
Oh yeah, we need to do an episode of the movie so Kit can watch it.
Oh, it's so good.
If that's
It's
actually
funny.
streaming anywhere or not.
I don't know right now. It comes and goes like pretty often. I feel like I definitely watched it for free on Prime, like the very very first time I saw it, because after I watched it, I was like, has no one recommended this movie to me
it's like
before?
renting everywhere.
Yeah,
It's so good. I bought like the Blu-ray when it came out. It's incredible.
I do just need to like buckle down and buy it, but
It's cheap. Like you get the Blu-ray for super cheap. Anyway.
So yeah, that's the news. Because everything else is just cancel this, cancel that. So I guess the only thing I'll say about it is if that you have the capacity to like help out anything that you love, if it's like, you know, a horror movie, or if it's like bands, or if it's artists, like definitely help those people out. And I feel like you should be supporting these things all the time, not just like in face of a crisis, but it's kind of more dire now, I guess. So just, you know, talk about the things that you like, recommend it to other people, buy it if you can. Yeah.
Yeah, give money to the people in your life that have jobs that they aren't making money right now.
Yeah.
Also, never mind. I won't say kill the president again. What are we doing next week?
The Night Fly.
Okay, so we're gonna do Night Flyer.
Maybe.
Unless
if
it like
just
yeah, because like the Mangler was on YouTube and it disappeared. So, if that disappears, like Children of the Corn is on Tubi, Secret Window is on something.
Shudder.
Well,
they just added it to Shudder.
Oh, I think it's on Crackle too. So
no one's heard of Crackle. Nate.
I mean, trust me, we're gonna be using it because we're gonna do Lavalantula.
Oh my
Get
god.
familiar.
Yeah, so that's TBD in the next 2 days when we record about it.
Right.
Yeah, so apparently Night Flyer. I literally have no idea what Night Flyer is, so I'm interested to watch it.
I read the story, but I've never been able to watch it because it's literally been like unavailable. I know that it did come out on DVD, but I haven't been able to find it. So I'm really excited to see. I don't know much about the movie, so I'm excited.
We're gonna end up watching some fucking YouTube video that's the whole movie, but they like put in fucking weird sound effects and shit. It'll be like fart noises throughout the whole thing.
Just honking.
Okay. That would be okay.
Also, if you listen to this when it comes out, might have an extra episode this week.
Ooh.
Hint. Hope you guys like the Jackass franchise. I wish. I fucking like wish all of them were streaming right now.
It is the time for Jackass, if there ever was a time.
If we were gonna fucking unite society, it would be putting all the Jackass, the TV show and the movies, streaming for free right now while everybody's in quarantine.
Goodness.
Perfect.
So I do have one other. If you guys, so this episode is already out by the time you listen to this one. I recently did a guest episode of a podcast called Paranormal Pansies, which is run by Nick and Ash from Copulator Stay First, which I think probably a lot of our listeners are sort of familiar with them. So they have a horror movie podcast also, and they have a paranormal one that they just started, and I was just on the episode that dropped yesterday about sleep paralysis, so you guys can go listen to me talk about sleep paralysis. And their Instagram is Paranormal Pansies Pod on Instagram, and you can listen to that like anywhere you listen to podcasts also.
Yeah, go do that. Do you guys want to recommend some things?
I just bought The Stand on Blu-ray because it felt appropriate.
It's
on sale.
Of course, Amazon put it on fucking sale like immediately.
Amazon choice.
Saw it for like $15, and I was like, well, I guess I should do that.
I have it on DVD, but it's all packed up right now. I've never actually watched it. I got it at like one of those sales and pretty much like packed it immediately.
It's probably only going to get more relevant. So by the time you dig it out,
Yeah, right. I honestly haven't. I've been doing everything I can to stay off of the internet mostly, but I haven't really been doing anything. Okay, I'm gonna recommend. There's a show on Hulu called Worth It, and basically the co-hosts try like three different. They take like so let's say pizza, and they try three different price points of pizza and try and basically decide like what's worth it. So they'll have like $1 slice of pizza, a pizza that's $50, a pizza that's $1,000, and they've done like ice cream and they've done
shit like what you were sending me Snapchats of like $7,000 hamburgers and shit.
Yeah, it was the 777 burger. And so a lot of it is like, I don't know. I like all of the co-hosts on it, so I like it, and I love food. Like, who doesn't? So I watch like food shows all the time, but this one I think is cool because there are a lot of like, obviously the way to make something expensive is that you could put gold leaf on it or you could put caviar, which like a lot of the times is what happens. But they also kind of like talk about how some of the things came to be. They go to some restaurants that are like they went to a Gordon Ramsay one, and stuff like that. So it's just something like fun and like mindless you could watch. The episodes are only like 20 minutes or something like that, but there's like 6 seasons, so it's been something basically that we can just like watch and like not think about anything. So I know a lot of people are recommending horror movies, and I've been watching horror movies too, but sometimes I like don't want bad things to be happening. You know what I mean?
I've been doing the exact opposite and watching the most stressful show where I've been rewatching Daredevil.
Oh, it's so good though, but it is really stressful.
My recommendation is watching the uncut or the one cut fight scenes in Daredevil. Especially the fucking that hallway scene in season 1, incredible. The fight scene after where he's got the fucking chain taped to his hand or whatever in season 2, incredible. John Barenthal's the Punisher killing a fucking dude selling child porn, incredible. Fucking perfect
it's
show.
So good. I think Daredevil is like one of my favorite things ever. Like you know, not just, I don't know, it's just one of my favorite things ever. It's so good. It's shot really well.
Oh,
Most of the actors are really good.
It's perfect. How dare you?
It is.
Hard stand Rosario Dawson. It's Claire.
Ugh.
The fulcrum of those shows.
Oh, no. But yeah.
She literally is, though. Like,
well.
Daredevil would be dead in a dumpster without her.
That's true, but it doesn't mean I have to like her. That's all I'm saying.
You know what else fucking rules with those shows is the episode of Luke Cage when he goes like busting into that fucking safe house. Did you watch Luke Cage? Either you watch Luke Cage?
No. I started.
Oh, God, it's so
I started
good.
like going through Jessica Jones first, but I don't have Netflix anymore, so I can't watch any of it. So I never made it to Luke Cage, unfortunately.
First season
I
of
just
Jessica Jones is a perfect season of TV.
I'm a little sad because like I only watched half of it, and then like it basically is because I moved, and then I was like, well, I'll just pick up everything later, but that didn't end up happening. So all I watched was Defenders, which I really liked, and Punisher and Daredevil. So
the first season of Jessica Jones is extremely depressing.
I feel like all of those shows are.
Well, but this one deals a lot with like trauma and like rape and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. It's so good. And there's Iron Fist.
You know what?
I like Iron Fist, but
first of all, I totally forgot that it existed, but I didn't watch the second season. I did actually like the first season. Like, I can see why people complained and didn't like it, but I thought it was pretty good. I don't know. I thought the ending to the first season was really good also. And then same thing. I watched like 1 or 2 episodes of season 2, and then I couldn't
Iron
watch any.
Fist would be a lot better if they just had Daredevil's fight choreography.
Yeah.
So there's like, I
agree.
remember when it came out, there was a breakdown that somebody did of like a 15-second clip that had like 130 cuts in it or some shit. It's crazy.
I have to say, like, the thing I liked most about that series though was Colleen. She's just like
She's the best.
badass lady, and that actress, I'm gonna have to look it up. That actress is starring in something else soon. So I have to say, like, it's good that people recognized her. But
Yeah, watch. That's, I mean, it's a recommendation from like fucking 10 years ago, but
I know. What about Kit?
he did. The
Why
Stand.
do I always? Oh, that's right.
Unbelievable, Katie.
Also,
I just can't-
Orange Cassidy. Recommend.
Oh yeah, obviously. Forever.
Right. Whenever you go first, for some reason I forget.
Everybody's always
Sorry.
forgetting Kid on his birthday.
I know.
Because I'm locked inside.
I've been hanging out with Nathan too long, and I start to forget Kit's here, just like he does.
Let's see what the last thing I listened to was. I'll recommend that. Let's see.
I was listening to Saves the Day's whole discography for the last 10 years.
Last thing I listened to was 9 by Saves the Day. So there you go.
Me too. Yes.
So listen to that. All right. I don't fucking know. Everything's terrible. What a way to end.
I know. Like, literally, this episode is just like 2 hours of us being like, everything's so bad.
Debbie Downer episode.
Yeah.
Um.
But that's okay. Everyone just like be smart and take care of yourselves, and be responsible.
Wash your hands.
It's
Wash
so
your hands.
fucking depressing that we have to live in a world where we have to like remind people to wash their hands.
Yeah, and tell people to, realize that your actions have consequences on other people. So even though you want to go out and have brunch and mimosas, like you could be carrying something that you're not sick, but you can have other people get sick. So like, just stop doing that.
If you see somebody engaging with the coronavirus challenge where they're licking toilet seats in public, please murder them.
I immediately just like turned my whole phone off when I saw that video. Like, I can't deal with it. It's just crazy.
That's enough internet.
Yeah.
Yes, there was enough internet like 20 years ago. We should have stopped. All right. Maybe Night Flyer next week. We'll see. Up in the air.
Yeah. If you're still listening, please go give us reviews, because that's the only thing we live for now. And it's Kit's birthday, and that's the only thing that he wants is 5-star reviews.
Yep. True.
Yeah.
And cornbread recipes.
And yeah, still want recipes.
Only reviews telling us happy birthday or recipes. Tell us your favorite recipe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Make mine vegan, please.
True.
I hope you suffer, but why?
You piece of dog fuck.
Meat shake, because it hasn't been said in a while.
Yes, I was just thinking about that.
Shake.
That I need
Meat
one.
shakes.
I hate that so
I
much.
can't think of a fucking line from that movie other than like was she like a big fat woman or fucking whatever that I was trying to figure out and put meat shake in there, but
I think he says like, was she a fat woman?
Yeah. She one of them great big fat people. Something like that.
oh my god, what is wrong with us?